All right, it is Thursday evening. John Giles is with us. If you're watching on any of our social channels, you can leave a comment if you have any questions for John this evening. So, a new start for the Irish team, John. Played Gibraltar on Saturday evening. Your thoughts on what to expect from, well, I guess the double header more so than the game against Gibraltar, because the expectation is that it's a minnow. Ireland should win this quite comfortably. But Mick McCarthy will have had 4 training sessions with the group. Is that enough time for him to put any sort of a stamp on the team?
Not really, Nathan. A little bit of a stamp, but not much, really, because you're only doing the practice and you have to get the lads in the matches. But you have to start somewhere. And I must say, on paper, I think it's an ideal start for Mick. You got Gibraltar. We should beat them. Obviously, we've got to play well and do it. But it's better getting a really top-class team or a big team away from home on your first match. So it's a good bedding in, or hopefully a good bedding in process for Mick.
We've spoken in depth about the frustrations of particularly the latter months of the Martin O'Neill era. What are the main things you want to see differently over these 2 games?
Well, first of all, the consistency of selection, I think, is a good start, Nathan. And then probably a bit more freedom for the lads to play. And consistency, certainly consistency of selection, where you know your best players, you play them in the best positions, and they get used to playing together. I think there was an awful lot of changes from one match to the next with Martin. So it's very, very hard to get a good rhythm in the team if you're changing it all the time. So hopefully Mick will come to the conclusion very quickly which are his best players in their best positions, Nathan.
Particularly in the home games and against the lesser teams, I think Irish supporters want to see Ireland start to control games better. Georgia have come to Dublin in recent campaigns and they've dominated possession away from home against Ireland. I think that's probably one flip that people would like to see. Does Mick McCarthy have the players at the moment, when you look at that squad, that can control a game, that if they are set up correctly, if they've done a bit of work on the training ground, that actually against a side like Georgia, they should have enough about them that they can even get 55-60% possession of a game?
Well, should do, Nathan, but you never know what's going to happen. I mean, we're not that well off for players, as we know, particularly strikers in the middle of the field. We've got some good players, but we don't have a real playmaker or general in the middle of the field. But you can make up for that with hard work, being well organised, and the players doing their best, which I'm sure they will do, as they've always done for the Irish team. But we don't have any outstanding players, Nathan. There's no doubt about that. So I think Mick has got to make the best of what he has, and I'm sure he'll do that. If you're looking at the players at the back, if you want to talk about, we've got Randolph, because a very, very good goalkeeper. Yeah,
so I think Darren Randolph looks certain to keep his place in goal, even though Kieran Westwood's having a very good season at Sheffield Wednesday. A lot, and how the team sets up will probably depend on how he approaches even the right-back position, because while you say we've no outstanding talents, there's a very good chance Matt Doherty may end up in the Premier League team of the season in that right-back position. We know how consistent Seamus Coleman has been and the level he can get to. What would you do in that position?
Well, first of all, I have to apologise for saying that we don't have any good players. I was talking about mostly up front, where we're in the middle of the field, Nathan. Of course, Coleman is a very good player, and Doherty. I would play both of them. I think if I had my choice, I'd play Coleman at right back. I think I would play Doherty at left back.
Okay.
I've seen him play for left back for
Wolves.
For Wolves before, and I think he's a very good all-round player. Anyway, Nathan, you have him in for making the attacks down the left side as he does on the right side. And Stevens is a good lad as well. He's done well for us at left back, Nathan. But it's a question of, I'm only giving you my opinion on it. But I would definitely have Doherty, Keogh, Duffy or Clark, and Doherty. And that leaves a place in the midfield. I think O'Dowda is a loss to us. I think he could have filled in nicely. He can hold the ball and use the ball in that position. So
just before we get to the midfield, then, just on the Matt Doherty role and playing him left back, he's been a key part of his game, and he spoke about this yesterday, was going forward and the freedom he's given at Wolves to get forward. Because he's not naturally left-footed, do you think that would curb his attacking instincts at all if he was playing left back as opposed to the more natural position on the right side?
Well, it could do. Obviously, he wouldn't be as comfortable going down the left-hand side, but he's a good enough player, Nathan, in my opinion, to get in the right positions at the right time and get the ball onto his right foot. You know, there's been a lot of players. I mean, I've seen a lot of players, fullbacks, famous lads, playing right back on the left-footed. It can be an asset as well as a bit of a fault. But you see, when he's playing for Wolves, he's playing with he's playing as an orthodox right back, Nathan. Sorry, he's playing as a wing back. He's not playing as an orthodox full back.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think we're going to do that. I don't think we're going to be playing three at the back. Anyway, so I prefer to have the four at the back. But that's what I would do. I would play Doherty. Of course, he wouldn't be quite as comfortable as he is on the right, but he'd be comfortable enough, and he's good enough player to get in the right position to get the ball onto his right foot. I've seen him do it for Wolves and play really, really well, Nathan. I mean, the choice with that is, do you leave Coleman out? I'm not saying I'm suggesting you would, to put Doherty in his best position. You know, it's a question of making the best of what you have, and I think playing him at left back, or there's talk about him maybe playing in midfield.
Well, I was going to ask, what about that option of you play Seamus Coleman in his natural position at right back, and actually you give Matt Doherty a bit of freedom and you play him on the right side of midfield?
Well, it's a different game altogether, Nathan. You know, coming from the back in three at the back and playing as a wing back is a totally different position to actually playing in midfield. You know, coming from the back in his position with Wolves, you're a free man coming forward. But in the midfield, you're expected to play as a midfield player, which is to get on the ball and create a little bit. I've never seen him play in that position before, and I wouldn't take a chance on him playing as an orthodox midfield player. Yeah.
Is it that also having somebody playing behind you creates a slightly different dynamic? They need to have a level of understanding that when Coleman goes forward, maybe Doherty needs to drop back, that's something Mick McCarthy might find hard to do in the space of 3 or 4 training sessions.
It's difficult for Doherty to do it. He'd be asking him to play as an orthodox midfield player. It's a different story altogether. It's chalk and cheese, the position he's actually playing in. When you're playing as a wing back, you've got the 3 defenders, and you're free to go down that right hand side and somebody supply you with the ball. When you're playing in midfield, you're supposed to supply the ball. I'm not so sure Doherty. Maybe he can. I don't know. I've never seen him do it. But I wouldn't take a chance on him in that position. I wouldn't, without having seen him playing in that position. It's a totally different position. It's like the centre half playing centre forward. You know, it's that much difference in between playing as a wing back and playing in the middle of the field, Nathan.
Right.
So I've played left back. You know, left back he is a full back. And there's no lads, and he seems a very intelligent player. He'd have no problem playing at left back.
Yeah.
Okay, he might be quite as comfortable getting the ball over with his left foot as his right foot. But with good players like that, they get time enough to get it onto the right foot, Nathan. Anyway, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I was going to say,
playing for Ireland early on in the year. He was very good. Or later on in the year, so last year. I thought he was a very, very good player. So I wouldn't let you down. And I don't think any of the defenders would. Keogh, Duffy, Clark, Stevens, Coleman, Doherty. I think they're all good players. It's just a question of making the best of what you have at your disposal, and making the best of them to play in those positions.
I guess the supporters as well probably need to, particularly with somebody like Matt Doherty, need to show a bit of patience with him, because they've watched him all year for Wolves in that role in a very, very well-drilled side, a team that like to dominate possession, that have unbelievably talented midfielders in Moutinho and Neves who can control a game, that actually coming to play for Ireland, it's such a different thing. It's again, they don't get the same length of time on the training pitch, and if you're playing out of position, like maybe his job at left back is just to be solid. It's just
but he's playing as a full back, Nathan. You know, like if you play him at left back, it's similar to playing right back. Like at Wolves, he's playing as a wing back. So and they've got very good midfield players, and the players have to free him. You know, they free him, and then he's at his best when he's getting forward. He defends well. He's a very good player. But when you ask him to play as an orthodox midfield player, he's the one that has to feed Coleman, for example, coming down. It's a totally different game, and therefore I wouldn't take a chance on him. A gamble on him doing that particular job. That's what I believe. But I would have no problem playing him left back, because it's a full back position, and he's well able to do that. And I've seen full backs with left foots playing on the right hand side and vice versa, and they've been okay. They've been very, very good, and it can be done.
Yeah,
it's just a question of making the most of what you have.
So moving on then to a potential midfield, and this has been the real source of frustration over the last couple of years, is getting a combination that can control a game. We probably had it for 180 minutes at Euro 2016 of a midfield three of James McCarthy, Robbie Brady and Jeff Hendrick, and we felt that was the future, and for various different reasons, form and injury, it's never quite happened. How would you like to see them line up in midfield?
Well, I think Hendrick and Arthur will play. I think Brady should play. For example, if Doherty's playing in midfield, it could be Doherty, Hendrick, Arthur, and I put Brady in there on the left.
Okay.
That's if they pick it that if Mick picks it that way, and I would play McLean up front.
Right.
That's
as a striker or just in behind the striker.
Well, he's so mobile, McLean. McLean will give you a show anywhere, Nathan. You know, and we're a little bit short up front anyway. And if that's the way, if Doherty's going to play, be Doherty, Hendrick, Arthur, and Brady, and I would put McLean. McLean will give you a show anywhere. He's so game. And he'd be well able to do that. Again, you know, McLean could score goals as well, Nathan. And if he's playing off the centre forward, then he could come a little bit deep, whatever way they want to play him. But I think you're getting your best players in the team in that particular way.
So if then it is a case that Matt Doherty plays at left back, would you play Brady in front of Doherty? Or would you play McLean out on the left and move Brady into a different
McLean on
position?
the left in that place, in that way.
Okay.
You know, if it already played at full back, I'd have Hendrick, Brady, Arthur, and McLean.
All right.
But if he plays Doherty, then I would have Brady on the left hand side and McLean up front.
And would there be a place for Seanie Maguire?
Well, it depends who's the best of them. I think he's scored a few goals at the moment, isn't he?
He's obviously had a huge amount of injury problems as well, so he's just sort of getting back to full fitness.
Yeah, well, if he's fit, definitely, because you know he can score a few goals. McLean can score a few goals, and it gives you a bit of life up there as well. You know, so like we are a little bit short up front, but all the lads haven't had a chance. We got O'Brien, has got a Collins apparently, you know, McGoldrick.
Yeah.
So. Like we've got a choice there, but I would if it works out with Doherty in midfield, I would definitely put McLean up there because you know what you're going to get from McLean. You don't know what you're going to get from the other lads.
The midfield then, if it is Harry Arter and Jeff Hendrick, I don't want to say they're in last chance saloon when it comes to Ireland because, listen, they're still playing Premier League football and it's not as though we have endless resources. But the two of them have been a big source of frustration for everybody over the last couple of years on their inability to get the ball, to pick out a pass. And we've sort of let them off the hook because we've put a lot of it on the management and the lack of preparation under Martin O'Neill. Do they need to show? Do they need to show a lot more?
I think that's a fair assessment, Nathan. I don't think they were encouraged to get on the ball and play. I'm disappointed that O'Dowd is not available.
Yeah.
No, O'Dowd is a good footballer, and he's proven that, and he can play down the left hand side again, which would replace McLean. But Hendrick and Arthur have done it before, and you know I think they're capable of doing it. Nathan, you know, it could be a different proposition altogether now with Mick taking over. I think there'll be more freedom for them to get on the ball, and there'll be more continuity in what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I was out actually interviewing Stephen Kenny yesterday, and it was really encouraging listening to him talk about how he sees the under-21 side playing, and that at times at international level maybe Ireland need to drop a few more players into midfield, anything basically to create the more technical players to get on the ball more, to dominate possession. And that's brilliant, building up over the next 2, 3, 4 years. It's a hell of a motivational job Mick McCarthy's going to have to do to get into the heads of Harry Arter and Jeff Hendrick in the space of a week to encourage them to...
Long enough, Nathan.
Yeah?
Long enough, you know, because, you know, players can pick it up very, very quickly when there's a change of manager. And if you look at... I can't get off the subject. Look at Solskjaer coming into Manchester United. No, they start winning straight away. They're different players, or they look different players. So when a new manager comes in, and I've no doubt, looking at Mick's record in the past, he does encourage the midfield players to play, to get on the ball and do it and get quick throw-ins and all the things that we haven't seen for a while in the Irish team. So it doesn't take. If the players can respond and they have the ability to respond, it doesn't take that long to do it, Nathan. You know. Yeah.
Have you, I don't know if you can think back and whether there's much experience as a manager, as a player, probably maybe third round FA Cup games when you're going into matches as overwhelming favourites like Ireland are against Gibraltar, against a team of part-timers where probably anything less than a 3-4, 5-0 victory would be seen as a disappointment. From a motivational point of view, like, how do you get yourself up for those games to make sure that you fully realise the impact further on in the campaign?
Well, first of all, usually in those games, Nathan, it's getting in front. Once you get in front, the problem with you playing against Gibraltar, even if you get one in, it doesn't change it that much because they're going to defend anyway. But you just take it on its merits on the day. What you got to do, I found anyway, playing against teams that you were expected to be, is to work as hard as them, if not harder. Because you definitely have better players. The only thing they can beat you on is attitude and having a go more than you're having a go. So take nothing for granted. Get out, lower yourself to their level, mentally I'm talking about now, and every time they're on the ball, you make it hell for them, because that's what they try to do to you. So you outdo them at what they're good at. And then if you have the players, which we have the players, we've got better players in Gibraltar, then the mental state is right to go on and win the match. And be patient, obviously. Don't panic on it. Just keep playing and playing, But hopefully, what you're looking to is get a good start. Once you get a good start on it, then you usually can attack, Nathan. But you've got to take it on its merits. There's no guarantee, as we know, going into it, but at the same time, not to be too nervous about it, because when you're the underdogs, that mental approach is off, because you're not expected to do much. When you're expected to do it, it's sometimes more difficult. But you have to have the confidence, and it's down to Mick as well, to manage them in the right way and approach the match in the right manner, which I'm sure he will, and the players will.
Yeah. All right. So that is 5 o'clock Saturday evening. We'll have an extended Off the Ball. We're on air all the way through until 7 o'clock to talk you through that game. And then we'll be at the Aviva for the match against Georgia on Tuesday night. Stick with us. Quick break and plenty more to talk to John with. You're welcome back. John Giles is still on the line. We have been talking about the Republic of Ireland's upcoming games. You can listen back to all of that on offtheball.com. But just want to look back on last weekend, John, and in particular the FA Cup. The surprise of sorts, though listening to Matt Doherty yesterday, he said that the Wolves players were very confident going into that game that they would win it. And, well, I guess firstly, to talk about Wolves in that game over Manchester United, they played like a team who were confident that they could beat Manchester United.
Yeah, they're a good team, Nathan. Wolves have done very, very well. They won. They ran away with the championship last year, and they bought some very, very good players. They have invested, but whoever's doing it for them has invested very, very wisely, which is the main thing. I mean, if you take Fulham, for example, who came up last year, I think they spent 100 million, and not well spent, and they're really in trouble. Wolves, when they got the new owners in, whoever's doing it for them, the scouting.
Yeah, they've a link with they've a link with the agent George Mendes, which gives them access to a lot of these Portuguese players.
Well, exactly, and well, he obviously knows his stuff. Whoever's doing it, now obviously he has an influence on it as an agent. He would know who was available, who wasn't at the right price, and all the various things that need to be done. But the main thing is spotting the talent, Nathan. You could buy somebody for 5 million, and I mean, what's the Portuguese lad playing midfield? Martinho.
João Moutinho, yeah.
Brilliant player. Now he's about 34, but he's been a terrific player for Portugal over the years. I don't think he's been in the team recently, but years ago. I think he's 34 now. But he was outstanding against Manchester United. Manchester had nobody like him last week. So it's money well spent. It's not the amount you spend; it's how you spend it. And Wolves have definitely spent it very, very well. And obviously the manager's done well with them. They're a really, really good team. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they went on to win the cup, Nathan. They really are good, and it was a big match for Manchester United. And Manchester United weren't up for it.
Yeah,
they were well beaten. They started off okay, but over the 90 minutes they were well beaten. Pogba was back to his Mourinho worst on the day.
In what way?
I thought he was terrible on the day, but the attitude, and to be fair to Solskjaer, got on to them afterwards about the attitude, wasn't right. Wolves deserve to win it, Nathan. There's no doubt about that.
Does that performance then, and even Solskjaer's reaction when he talked, as you say, about them, it was a Mourinho-like performance. Does that suggest that there's still a a major clear-out required at Manchester United? Because I think after the Paris Saint-Germain result, obviously there's always going to be summer investment. There was a feeling that actually maybe they don't need a huge overhaul, that Solskjaer can get an extra level out of most of these players. Does what happened against Wolves suggest actually some of these just aren't at the level required?
Well, it was the first bad performance under Solskjaer, to be fair to him, Nathan. They're probably still getting carried away with the result in against Paris Saint-Germain, which can happen. But to be fair to Solskjaer, it's the first bad performance that they've had. I'd say he was very disappointed about it, because there might be a stage where the players think, well, it's easy now. It might be a one-off, and hopefully for his sake it's a one-off. But it shows that they're not there yet, Nathan. That's for sure. They were beaten the week before against Arsenal as well. So there's work to be done. And again, how it depends now how they finish the season. I mean, up to the last 2 weeks, it was give Solskjaer the job. Now I read in the paper, and there's a few doubts about it after a couple of weeks. That's the way the game works. So they still got a bit to do before the end of the season. I say that was a very disappointing result for them, because that was a competition that they would certainly be looking to win, Nathan. Because they wouldn't be big favourites for the Champions League, and they're looking to finish top four in the Premiership. So I think that was a big loss for them, and the manner in which they played, I'd say Solskjaer had a right to be annoyed with them.
You mentioned João Moutinho there and his ability in the middle of midfield, and some people see Ruben Neves, who's alongside him, as maybe the natural successor and somebody as well who can control a game. Should that type of player be Manchester United's main target for the summer? A midfielder who always wants to get on the ball, who's sort of happy to be the creative player, somebody that can complement Pogba? Well,
everybody's looking for a player like that, Nathan. There's not many of them around, but I'd say that's what they would be looking for. But again, like if with Pogba should be the leader in that way. Well, he gets a lot of credit for being the leader, which he isn't. I don't think he ever will be. So they do need somebody. See, when you go back to Pogba again, at his best, he had a great Italian player,
Pirlo.
midfielder. Sorry,
Pirlo
playing. He was able to get the best out of Pogba, because Pogba doesn't have any sense of responsibility playing. Pirlo was a master midfield player, and get it out to Pogba in positions that Pogba could do what he was good at, which was going past players and scoring good goals. He's not able to be the main man, so they do need a main man, like a lot of teams do, Nathan. There's not many of them around that can do what Modric does at the moment, probably the best of them. If you look around all the teams that we've seen in the Champions League now, there aren't many players who can do that particular job. So he's going to have a job finding one. But I think they do need one. That's for sure. Manchester United.
Yeah, just briefly before we finish on the FA Cup, Chris Hughton and the job he's doing at Brighton this season looks as though they're safe in the Premier League yet again. Like what he's done even with Glenn Murray and getting the best out of him over the last 18 months has been remarkable. But through to an FA Cup semi-final, all right, they're going up against Manchester City in that, but we probably don't talk enough about just how good a manager Chris Hughton has been.
He's been great. He's a smashing lad. I know Chris from the Irish team. A terrific lad, a very humble lad, really, really good individual, and he's done a great job, Nathan. There was one time I don't think he fancied going into management. He was at Spurs for a long time as assistant manager to a few different managers, and then decided to go into it. Maybe he was learning, which I'm sure he was. But wherever he's gone, he was very badly treated at Newcastle, for example. Like Chris has done a good job, and doing what he's doing at Brighton is, he's have to be in the running for Manager of the Year, because, he doesn't have the resources, as we know. He doesn't have the resources that the big clubs have. But to do the job he's done, and all he can do is do the best with what he has. And he's certainly done that. And he's terrific, and he's a really, really good lad.
Yeah. John, great stuff as always. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
Okay, thanks, Nathan.
Great stuff, John. John Giles there with us every Thursday evening here on Off the Ball.